Hello, I'm back. Okay, so hopefully you have finished your other bum cheek. I can't remember which one I did. What I did do, that I did off video, was my butt cheeks were really close together. So they almost look like one. So my pliers, I just, if I can hold my pliers right, I just put my pliers down the middle between the two circles and just gave it a squeeze. And basically that just separates the butt cheeks. That separation will close up as we add, but just to kind of keep them separate for now, that's what I have done. Most of my pieces have pretty good butts. It's, I guess it's kind of a signature thing for me, even though they're sitting on them most of the time. This one I've just painted, so she's drying, but you can see she's got kind of a rounded butt. I don't know why, but that's just how I roll. Apparently somebody else is, oh, excuse me, listening to this as well, sorry. Not very professional, but I never claim to be professional, I just claim to do wire. So, we're going to go and grab our piece of wire again, take out another length. Now your lengths do vary depending on what you do. When you start doing sort of smaller features, arms, that sort of thing, you're not going to pull out such a long strand of wire. I can't see where I am. Here I am. But yeah, so again, always holding your pointy end, cut it off and put your roll away. Alrighty, so we're just going to get those two ends together. We're going to run our hand along the wire to create the loop at the other end. I think I keep going like off video somewhere. I don't know what I'm doing. And then we're just going to chuck a couple of twists in that I forgot to do last time, just to help stop the confusion of having two sort of separate pieces of wire, making them just one. You can work with just one piece of wire, but it just takes a lot longer to build up the piece. A couple of people I follow, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I can't stop yawning. A couple of people I follow use like 6 or 7 strands. So if you look up, or if you do a Google for fantasy wire, here's a gentleman in, I think it's Canada, Robin Wright, under fantasy wire. He does, I think, 6 strands at once. I think his might be a little bit thinner than mine. My wire is 1 millimeter. Some people use 0.8 or 0.5. And I'm not giving away my stockist because they never have enough for me, let alone sharing that with anybody else. Yeah, but you can buy it online and that sort of thing. Just do some Googling for... And I'll be going, oh my God, I need to sleep. Do some Googling for whatever size you want to work with, 1 millimeter, 0.5, 0.8, either stainless steel wire or this is galvanized stainless steel. It really doesn't matter what you use, it's going to rust, especially if you live near the water. Like I'm in Stanley, so I'm surrounded by beaches. So outside it will rust, inside it will go dull. Just as an example, this is a much older piece, and so it hasn't changed heaps, but it's gone sort of dull. Nothing we can do about that. But because of what it is, it's got like a 20-year lifetime. So it's not going to fall apart, even when it rusts. And if you've seen my rusted pieces, they still hold all their integrity. So it will dull. Okay, so we've got our 2 loose ends. We're going to come back in. We might start... I guess we'll start... I think I want to go legs. Bit of a decision. It's a terrible time of day for me to do a video. I can't stop yawning. And it's like the most beautiful day outside. Look. A sunny day. So cool. The dogs are out playing somewhere. I can hear someone chewing on something. Hopefully it's nothing important. Alright, so what I might do is start on this leg. Now this leg was the one that was meant to be up, so that when it sits, it sits with like one knee up and one knee sort of on the ground. So I'm just going to go, I'm on screen, I'm just going to go straight through, front to back, no tricks with those two pieces. The main reason I put these two pieces through first is A, so that you don't cut your furniture, scratch yourself or anyone else, but also these two pieces, because they're separated, they don't thread very well at all. So when you start to sort of weave in and out rather than just going around, these two pieces are not what you want to be threading through, because they just separate all the time. So we just make our little hook and lock it in. Make sure it's locked in, like it's not going to go anywhere when I pull on the other end of it. And so you do have to think about the human anatomy. So, you know, we want two separate legs. They need to have like a crotch space. So I'm just going to go around the outside of the leg and come back to the inside. So we don't want to go tight at this point. What we're doing is adding the meat, the flesh, not the skin. So we want to be loose, but we don't want to be too loose, because then we just make the leg fat. Okay, so what we really kind of want to do is, I guess, create something that's roughly the size of a thigh for this little person. So what have I got? Like maybe a couple of centimeters. And then we're just going to go to the knee. And then what we're going to do is come in tight at the knee, because the knee shouldn't be as thick as a thigh, right? If you look at your own legs. So I've just gone around twice at the knee, and then I'm going to come back up to the hip, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap so that we start to get the rectangular sort of shape of a thigh. Man, I can't stop yawning. So, you might notice how I'm holding him. Now, you don't have to hold him the same way. This is just like I manipulate him any which way so that it works for me. I didn't crimp the end, and we are actually going to be going through. So I am now going to crimp the end on that. I think it's a good habit to get into when you're starting, because you never quite know where you're going to go next. So remember, person has a crutch, so we're going to go just slightly off to one side. We're not at the bottom, we're not at the top, and we're just going to push straight through to the other side. And you can see that it's just going to pull through. Now you get this a lot. See how we've got this loop? If we keep pulling, we'll end up with it in kind of a knot. And when you're doing threading like this, you cannot have a knot, because it won't pull through. So we need to watch what we're doing from both sides. When we see this, we need to untwist it, because we don't want any kinks in our wire or knots in our wire. And then we can keep pulling. Sometimes it'll do that a couple of times. Other times it's pretty good. So that's come through pretty good now. So see how when I'm pulling through, it's not quite tight yet. So I'm just going to go a little bit more. But I don't want to, if I go too much, it's just going to pull that leg out of shape. So what I want it to do is kind of create the outer part of a thigh. Okay, so if you can imagine, there's a leg here, there's a leg here. This is like the outside of this particular thigh. So our wire is out the back of the butt at the moment. So we're going to come back around. And we're going to do the same thing, but for the other side of the leg. Okay, and then I'm going to go tight in around that knee so that it's locked off. So can you see we've kind of created these two outside lines? So that's about how big our leg is going to be. If these two pieces are like out here and you don't want the leg that big, then just squeeze them in. You can pull this a little tighter, or the next stage, as we start to go around, we can pull it in and get it to the shape that we want. So I've still got quite a bit of wire left. So we've gone around the knee. We're staying on the same leg, and we're just going to go around. I hope you can see. So I'm not putting too much pressure in it, because I don't want to move these two outer parts unless yours are too wide, and then you need to. But mine are okay. So if I wanted to pull this in because I thought it was too fat, I'd pull a bit tighter. See how it all comes in? but I'm okay with where they are for now. So I'm just going to do it firm but loose. So again, we're putting on the flesh, not the skin. We don't want to go too big because then we just end up with a chunky thigh that maybe we can't fix later. Okay, easier to add on than to take away in this instance. Okay, so we've just done a couple of loops. So we've gone around a couple of times. We're right back at the butt again. Okay, so instead of just doing another loop around, I'm actually going to take my bit of wire, go around the leg, and I'm going to come back around the butt. Okay, what that's doing is just filling in this little gap here, because this, if we tried to just go around again, we'd still end up with that gap. So we need like sort of a slightly 45-degree kind of line across here so that we're not just left with this big gap. So I've got a little bit of wire left. I'm going to go down the butt crack. Pardon me for using the word butt crack. Now I'm pulling pretty firm at this point because this is where we're going to lock this piece off. Okay, so we've come around the leg. We're going to go around the top of the bum and then pull down through the butt crack, and we're going to go back up through the front. Okay, and then we're just going to tie this piece off. If you've got more, what you can do is go up to the neck. You don't want to pull the neck down, so you can tie it around the neck, and you can come back down around the bum again. Okay, so that's where we are so far. So we've got 2 separate bum cheeks. Remember that gap that I did with my pliers? Now there's another piece of wire going in it. So it won't stay that wide apart because we're going to do this on this side as well. But what it does is create a valley for your wire to come into so that you're getting the right anatomical shape. Okay, and so that's given us like a bit of a thigh. It's not crazy wide. Okay, it has pulled in my outside leg a little bit because that's probably come over here now, but that's okay as long as it's roughly the size that you want. Okay, now what we can do, see how we've got a really big gap here, and because I didn't want to go around again here, so I'm just going to take one part. So this is the wire we've added in 2 pieces, but I just want one piece. We're just going to give it a light, gentle twist, okay, because that just fills in that little gap there. Now, if your thigh is too wide or you've gone around it too many times, you can do this same thing, okay, just take one piece of wire, not 2, and you can just give it a gentle twist down the leg. And what it's doing is just kind of creating a bit of a border that your next piece of wire can lay on top of. Now I'm looking at this one and I'm thinking this bit's kind of poking out a little bit, like it's not really in line. So I can do exactly the same thing, take my pliers and just fairly gently just lay that back over and then give it a little squeeze, because we want everything to be kind of a little bit thicker up here, the same as what most legs are. A little bit thicker up here, a little bit thinner, and then thinner at the knee. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to start to add a little bit more flesh. Now these things take, like, to make a person from scratch, we're probably looking at 6 hours, maybe a little bit more, in order to have it to a finished piece. So don't rush it, take your time, and try and sort of get each section. There's no such thing as perfect in this, but each section to look like how you want it to look. So make sure the bum is the right kind of size. Make sure your thighs aren't too thick. Don't go crazy just going round and round and round. Take your time and think about where you're placing things. Think about how wide it needs to be, and you'll do fine. So I'm just going to get another piece of wire. Okay, same thing, pointy end. Take it out to arm's length because we're doing a fairly long one, being that it's a leg, and then put your 2 pieces back in, give it a snip, put your roll down, you've got your 2 pieces. So we're going to run our hand down our wire until we end up with a little loop-de-loop at the other end. Am I on screen? And then we're just going to pop a couple of little twists in it. Again, you don't have to do this, and once you get more used to it, you'll stop doing this twisting. But I just think for starting out, I think it's a little confusing. Okay, so we do a little twist. And then, as we always do, we're going to start with the 2 loose ends, and we're going to lock them off. Okay, so we're on the same leg. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to go through the front of that butt cheek and straight out the back. So you can see we've got our 2 pieces poking out the back, and we're going to make our little hook. You can do them together or one at a time. Just push it back in, push this one back in, and then when you pull on the other side of the wire, just give it a little push there. See, mine came back out. We don't want those pointy bits out, so I'm just going to push that down with my thumb. So you pull from the other side, it's locked in, not going to fall off. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go a little bit more on the 45 because we've started to add this flesh. So there's no point going over exactly the same point again. You don't just want to go back over this circle again because it doesn't really get you very far. So now we're going to switch to coming off the angle. So we're going to go from top here, we're going to go sort of mid-thigh and go around. So see, your wire's gone on an angle here. And we've got quite a gap here, which I didn't kind of notice before. So if you have that, you can just do a straight circle. Go straight around because we need to put that little structure in the hole. Otherwise, it's not going to get anything else. And then we come back to the knee, tight at the knee again. And part of the reason we go tight at the knee is because we keep coming back to this joint because it's kind of the lock-off spot. So if you'd started doing it quite wide, it ends up with so much wire in that point. And the other thing is that the knee is kind of a support point. So it does end up with a lot of quite tight wire there, which is what you want because otherwise you've got like a really floppy knee. So it helps to hold your sculpture in its place when you position it. So we've come around the knee. We're going to go back on that 45-degree angle. Go around. Go back to the bum again, and we're going to go around the bum, we're going to go around the top of the bum, down through the butt crack, quite firm. We're going to come out the front, and then we're going to go in for this one. Now this is the bit, remember I said we missed it before, so now we're going to do it, but because we've come from behind, it's just going to sit better. So then we're just going to go around, no angle, okay, and I'm going to go back around a second time in order to make sure I filled in that hole that was there before, okay. Then we're going to come back out on the 45 again and go around and around, come down to your knee where, remember, we come in really quite firm and quite small. We've got a little bit of wire left, so we just go back down the leg again until we run out. And I didn't squeeze my wire, did I? Like I said to. So we're just going to go around and we're just going to fold that end in because that's where it belongs. So then we kind of sit back and we go, yep, we've still got our little butt crack there. There's a little bit of wire going into it, but that's okay. That's what's going to happen. And then we look at our thigh and we go, yeah, that's not a bad size. Like, that allows for there to be room for a crutch. The knee's not too big. The thigh's a little bit narrower than what the bum is. Like if you look at the bum at the back and the thigh's a little bit narrower at the front. So that's pretty good. Okay. So we might go over onto this thigh. Now again, sometimes you have to kind of sit in this position yourself in order to figure out exactly where everything goes. But I think we're okay at the moment. As we are here now, do you reckon he's going to sit properly on the table? I don't, because look at that. This leg has kind of come forward. So what we need to do is pop our thumb back here, and we just want to push that leg up. Just up again, because he's meant to have his knee up, right? So we're just going to push him up into the body, and I'm also pushing the body forward a little bit too there. But now it's got him back into sitting position. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to go onto this leg. So we'll get our wire again. Same thing we always do. Cutting off. Hold the two sharp ends. Run it through the other hand so that they're together. Let's not be silly and remember to do this bit. And I mean, the wire's pretty close together, but let's just drop a couple of twists around. I'm just twisting one around the other at the moment. I have let go of those pointy ends to do this, but they're facing down and away from me. Okay, so back to our pointy ends first, because why? They don't thread nicely. Okay, move to the other butt. Other butt cheek, we've already started it there. I just knocked something else off my bench again. Okay, so we're going to push these two through. Hello, Bailey dog. Bailey's come in to say hello. Push these two through. Oh, she's just jumped up on me. Oh my God, where's my other one? Why do I only have one through? This is why we never use this one for feeding, except for the very start. So I've got to pull it out, go back again, push them tight together again, and I might have to find a different spot in the bum, one that's got not quite so much wire that's going to separate them. So we've just gone front to back, and we're going to create our little hook back inside, and we're going to pull on the wire out the front, and we've got him secured. Okay, so because this leg is kind of out to the side, I'm going to come out and follow that leg out, and we're going to go straight to the knee because we need a little bit of extra support on this one because it's out. So I'm just going to go straight to the knee and around again. Okay, then what we're going to do is with our threaded end, the one that we squeeze together, we're going to go back through the butt. Same as, remember the other side, it was like not quite in the middle, a little bit off to one side to allow room for a crutch. Same thing here. So I'm going to go through. You do just have to find a spot where the wire works as well. So I don't think I'll get through. Maybe I'll get through there. Bit tricky. Maybe, yep, I've got it. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to pull it through from the back, and we see what's happening. The twist. No twists. No twists. So I'm going to come back around here, untwist it, and then pull through. So what we're doing here is making the other thigh. Okay, so I'm going to pull a little bit harder because that is way thicker than that, and I haven't added any extra to it yet. So I'm going to pull it a little bit firmer through, and it's sliding down a bit, so I'm just going to give it a little squeeze with my hand. And now they're kind of about the same size. Okay, so our wire is sticking out the back. We're going to come around the front, and we're going to go through the middle, across, and then we're going to come back around, sort of on the 45-degree, a little bit angle, and then again. And what do we do at the knee? Tight at the knee. Nice and tight. Pull it tight. Okay, and hopefully yours looks like this. I hope you can see. Okay, and then we're going to go back around. We're going to do maybe a bit more circular this time to create a bit more flesh. I'm not pulling tight, but I am making sure that the wire is touching everything. I don't want the wire to be like out here, okay? Because if you go really loose, you end up with this, which is not the size that a thigh is. You'll end up with troubles. So we're going to come in a little bit tight. We don't really want to move these other lines out here, but we do want it to touch, okay? Now, because we've come back in and this leg's on the angle, now we're going to come up through the back of the butt, okay? And we're going to go through the body. This is a little bit different. It's because the leg's out on this angle that you have to kind of adjust what you're doing slightly. Okay, so we're going to pull through. We're getting a twist. We do not want twists, so we undo that. And then you can guide it through with your thumb or your finger. Just push it on through. Any way you can, as long as you don't end up with a twist. So we've come through from the back to the front again. So we're going to go down to the crotch, okay, and we're just going to come back again. So I'll just show you. So we've got a little gap here. So if I go on the 45-degree angle from where I am here, I'm going to go across there, but I'm still going to have a little gap. So I'm just going to do a circle in order to fill in that gap, but then back to that 45. There's no hard and fast rule to this. You just do what you have to do, whether it's a circle or a 45-degree angle, in order to create, I guess, a cage, because we're creating like a cage that the next piece of wire can lay on top of. Okay, so we're down to the knee. I'm not going right to the knee because I need a short bit of wire. So I'm just going to come back around. Look at this big gap. Not cool. So I'm going to take this end and put it into that gap. Okay, so we've created sort of a cage for the next piece of wire to sit on top of. But the thigh is about the same size as the other one. If it's a little thicker, you can just give him a little squeeze in, either with your fingers or with the pliers. If you've got, see how this is kind of loose here? It's not really handy, so I'm just going to put a little twist. You do have to be a little bit firm. So I've both twisted and pushed. Okay, so you do twist and push it in, and all it does is just help to lock everything in place. Then we put him on the table. He's good. He's sitting up. Okay, so then we'll do one more around the thigh. Get some more wire out. You can get really big spools of wire. I don't know where from. I have seen other artists use it. But what I find is, and I think you found when you were here, is that if you use too long a piece of wire, it just gets tangled up and it gets stuck on everything, and it's just not manageable. So I like to kind of keep it at that sort of arm's length. I don't know if you can see two hands. I kind of like to keep it so that I have full control. Well, in saying that, I've knocked how many things off my bench now? Not really full control. So, two pointy ends. Back to the butt. I'm just going to go through the top this time because I can see a nice little gap there. Wherever you can find a gap that those two pieces will go through easy is fine, because we're just locking it off. See how it's not really wanting to go through for me? Very common thing. So I just have to come back out, put them back to make sure that they're really level again, and then I've got a little gap here that I'm trying to get through. Doesn't always work. See how they're just getting jammed up? So one's come through, the other one's come through down there, and that's okay for where we are, because we just want to get it locked off. So I'm just going to use my pliers for this one, just because that way you can see it better than with my big fingers in the way. Okay, and what do we do next? Pull from the other side to make sure it's in. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, and then I've gone to start looping and the piece of wire just pulls completely out. It's really frustrating when you've been working on it for quite some time. Okay, stop talking. So we're at the front. I'm going to come down. We've already got a little bit of structure there. So now we want to kind of lay on top of that cage. So I just did a fairly tight circle there because that's what mine needed. Yours may not need that, but we're just basically laying this piece of wire like firm but gentle on top of the other one till we get to the knee. And then we're going to do, that's right, tight around the knee. And we're going to come back on the 45, back again, and we're going to end up back at the butt. It's like everything finishes with the butt. And because we're coming up, we're then going to feed the last of our wire through the body so that we go from the back through to the front. Okay, so now we're at the front. I've got quite a bit left. It's up to you. Depends how much wire you pulled out. Now looking at it, I'm like, this one's maybe a little bit thinner, do you reckon? But that's okay because this leg is sitting up in the air. So there's no gravity pulling the leg down, whereas this one is actually laying on the ground. Like when we sit him, he's going to be on the ground. So gravity and fat is naturally going to pull everything down towards the ground. So it's okay that he's a little bit fatter, and he may even be a little bit flat because he's sitting on the ground. Okay? So I'm just going to come back down this leg again. Now you can go around the back, you can go around the front, whatever you'd like to do. I've got a weird spot here, so I'm going to go around the back. Okay? And then through the front. And we're just going to go around, same as we did before. Sometimes it's on an angle, sometimes it's straight, down to the knee. And my end is now down at the knee, so I'm just going to poke it back in at the knee. And then we have a little dude who is, oh, I just knocked my camera everywhere. We've got a little dude who's sitting. Yay! I have to do these videos in short because that's like a half-hour video, and all we did was 2 thighs. See how you go? Take your time with it, and remember your hands are going to hurt when you first start, so it's probably good that the videos are only kind of a short amount at a time, because then you're not using your hands quite so much and ending up with sore hands. If you are getting sore hands, just do some stretches, like stretch your fingers right out. The other one I do is touch my thumb to each finger, and it just stretches out your muscles. Okay? It's a good idea to do that when you're starting out, because these are not normal movements for your hands. You don't normally do this. So I think these are a good idea just to do some stretches. Okay, I hope I'm helping, maybe, do you think? And I hope you get up to this stage, and I'll do another video for you tomorrow, and we might go up the torso. We might start up this way. A bit headless at the moment. It's not until you get almost 3/4 of the way through that it starts to actually look like something. They all look really weird when you're at that halfway mark, especially when you get to start to do horses and stuff as well. But yeah, like if I sit him back down, I've got my horse. I've just got to take my phone